Good evening, Gills fans. Welcome back to Gills in the Blood TV for our latest episode. We have something football related to talk about at 6 p.m. this evening. Our retained release list was published. Or was it? I think the article put out by the football club posed as many questions as it gave answers. But I can understand that. In the current climate, the ongoing coronavirus pandemic that's still affecting the world, certainly affecting elite level football in this country, and certainly affecting lower league football clubs in terms of the fact that they've had no income for 3 months now. So can understand the fact that we've erred massively on the side of caution, but there is some definitive answers. So I have made some notes and I will try and run through it in some sort of order and make best of it. Players under contract and staying for 2021, whenever that may be: Jack Bonham, Joe Walsh, Connor Ogilvie, Jack Tucker, Stuart O'Keefe, Matty Willock and John Akinde. 6 aside plus a bench, I suppose. But all jokes aside, it's a decent core to be starting with. Jack Bonham, one of the best keepers in the division last season. Joe Walsh, bags of potential. Connor Ogilvie and Jack Tucker just got better and better as the season went on. Stuart O'Keefe, one that I was probably underwhelmed with when he arrived, but grew on me and was really, really good for the most part. Matty Willock suffered with injuries, but we know what ability he's got. We've seen it in cameos. And John Akinde, I think, will benefit from a pre-season and a full summer with us, and hopefully will hit the ground running come next season. So yeah, decent core to be working with. Obviously, it doesn't mean that they won't go. If someone comes in and bids big bucks for Jack Tucker and or Connor Ogilvie, then we may have to look at selling one or two of them to balance the books and give us a starting place in terms of a budget for next season. But that's the 7 at the moment. In terms of players under contract that can leave, Lee Hodgson, apparently in ongoing talks with St Mirren about making his move up there permanent, which is of no surprise to me. Understandable. Barely got a look in due to the form in the early part of the season of Barry Fuller. Then Jack Tucker emerged and could fill in at right back, so Lee was sent out on loan, and I don't think he'll play for us again, to be quite honest. Hopefully, for his sake, he gets a move somewhere where he can play regular football. He deserves that. He's an international player, remember. But the other one, slightly surprising, I guess, was Barry Fuller. He did have the option to extend. It was in his contract, which is what he's done. But Steve Evans has told Barry that he can leave and go elsewhere if he wants to. The understanding and the thinking behind that is that Steve Evans wants a younger group of players in his squad. Barry's been great for us. It was great for us the first time. Got written off. Came back the second time. We all thought was back up. It's been brilliant again. One player of the year 2018-19 by a distance. He's a top bloke to boot as well. Had a great time singing and dancing with him at the Player of the Year do last year. But as a professional, absolutely spot on. Run through brick walls for you. Wears his heart on his sleeve. Plays for the shirt. Plays either side. But the thing is for me that, like with all of us, old father time does start catching up. And I'd imagine that's another thing that's behind Steve Evans' thinking. And Barry may think, right, if I'm not going to play regularly this season, I'll go elsewhere where I can play. But we'll have to wait and see for definite. But yeah, that's players under contract that can leave: Barry Fuller and Lee Hodgson. We then move on to players out of contract that have been released, will not be offered new deals. Usinu Cisse, in the same sense as Lee Hodgson. Completely understandable. Started the first 2 league games of the season at Doncaster, and then the home defeat to Burton, in which he scored. After that, we barely saw him. I think he only featured in leasings.com trophy games. Went out on loan to Leyton Orient, was there for a couple of months before the season was cut short. So maybe that's something they're looking to. I don't know. But from our point of view, it makes sense. Don't know what he was on in terms of wages, but anything that we can free up from players that didn't really play for us last season will help in the long run. Another one, a player that I liked, gave us balance, good technical ability, but probably was on a decent wage. Just reading between the lines, I have no inside knowledge, and that's Ben Pringle. It's been confirmed that he will be leaving after a solitary campaign with us. He only featured 11 times, Ben, which is a real shame for a player of such good ability at this level. No Steve Evans, played for him at Rotherham, done really well. Won promotion with Tranmere the season before last now. But for one reason or another, it just didn't really work for Ben. Was a little bit behind when he came in, picked up a couple of niggles, and just struggled to get into a midfield that was pretty decent on the whole. So one that's understandable. like I say, I think he might be on a decent wage. So if you can maybe get rid of that and bring in enough to free up enough wages to bring in maybe 2 younger midfielders, if that's the route that Steve Evans is going down, like he's insinuated, then it's the right decision for me. If he was guaranteed to play 40, 50 games, then I'd have said keep Ben Pringle, but I don't think Steve Evans could do that. So in that sense, I think it's the right call, and we wish Usaino and we wish Ben and we wish Lee the best in the future. One who I hope does get a deal, he's been invited back for pre-season, so you must know who that's Mark Byrne, recovering currently from that ACL injury that he suffered at home to Sunderland on the 7th of December. Steve Evans has made a point in the article of saying he has invited Burner back for pre-season, so let's hope that Mark takes up that offer, comes back in, proves his fitness, gets himself back up to full speed and continues where he left off, because I think plenty of people, myself included, thought he might have been marginalised last season. He didn't start the first couple of games, but then he got himself back in the team and he was absolutely flying before the injury. You have to remember, this is another player that won Player of the Year for us a couple of seasons ago. Another one in the similar mould to Barry Fuller. Plays with his heart on his sleeve, will give everything for the shirt, never shirk a challenge. And I just hope that he comes back, if not as strong, but maybe even stronger than he was before the injury. We know the great work that these surgeons can do these days with serious problems, and fingers crossed we see Burner in the summer, and fingers crossed even more so that he does enough for Steve Evans to be convinced to give him a new contract. Because yes, we are looking to go down the younger route, but still only 31, Mark Byrne. Think he's still got plenty to offer. Could he be a vice captain to Max Amor or Max Amor if he stays? You never know, but we'll get on to Max in a little while. Loan players returning to their parent clubs. We all know about Ollie Lee and Jordan Roberts were announced a few weeks ago. Obviously, Tom O'Connor, Jordan Graham and Alfie Jones are the other 3 now. Did I say that right? Ollie Lee, Jordan Roberts, Tom O'Connor, Alfie Jones and Jordan Graham, yeah. All out of contract, all been sent back to their parent clubs, but it has already been confirmed by Ipswich and Wolverhampton Wanderers that the 2 Jordans are out of contract and will not be offered new deals at their respective parent clubs. Now, Jordan Graham is an interesting one, clearly has loads of ability, was highly rated as a kid before suffering big injury problems. We didn't see enough of him, unfortunately. Arrived at the back end of the January transfer window, and then we had a month of him, and then the season got postponed and eventually cancelled. So hard to make a judgment on Jordan Graham. Clearly got loads of natural ability, but he is in the similar mould to Mark Marshall. He wants to hug the touchline. He's a, boots on the chalk type of winger, wants to stay wide. Steve Evans predominantly played a diamond last season, so would he fit into that system? If he wanted to come in and give us an option of another system, then I'd say, yeah, let's have a look, but not sure in the sense that we just didn't see loads of Jordan Graham. Clearly got ability, but we'll have to wait and see. The other Jordan, Roberts, thought done really well. Played a couple of positions, played left wing, played up top in a pair. I think he played 1 game as a number 10 as well at home. Can't remember who it was against. Might have been Shrewsbury, back end of January. But don't hold me to that as gospel. But yeah, I'd be really interested in getting Jordan Roberts back in. I think Steve Evans rates him. He's versatile. We know Steve Evans went down the route of not having a big squad last season, so in that sense we're going to need players that can play a couple of positions at least, and Jordan Roberts fits that criteria. Comfortable playing with his back to goal up top, but he's got enough pace to run into behind, so versatility, decent attributes. Scored 2 goals for us both at Rochdale in a 2-2 draw, but like I say, didn't play up top all the time, so I think it was 2 in about 15, but clearly offers something, so it might be one that Mr. Evans and Mr. Rayner explore further if budget allows. Right, now on to the slightly more confusing bit. Out of contract players, deals not being offered until at least 19th of June is the way I read it. There is an EFL board meeting on that day, which is next Friday, where hopefully there will be a date in place for the commencement of the 2020-21 season. 2020, yeah, I did say that right. And then hopefully we can make a decision on Max Amor, Henry Woods, Regan Charles Cook, Mikael Mandron and Brandon Hanlon. So I'm just going to run myself through them. Obviously Mika and Henry were 2 that we wasn't sure about. I went on a couple of websites. There was no information regarding when their contract definitely ran out, but it has become apparent that it is this summer that their deals expire. Henry Woods, I think Steve Evans again rates him. I think he wants to see more of him. But can we risk signing a kid up for another year and he only plays 2 or 3 group stage games in a leasings.com trophy if that competition goes ahead? Mika Mandron, I think, has put himself in a prime position to be offered a new deal because he ended the season really strongly. The last abiding memory we have as Gills fans is Mika scoring a double at the Stadium of Light to earn us a late point. And I'm not saying Steve Evans is just going to take that game on its as an isolated incident and say, right, here, Mika, here's a new deal. Obviously, he's not going to do that. But Mika created the right impression, I think, and I think there is more to come from him. I think he had a very stop-start season in the sense that he arrived late, so he didn't have a proper pre-season. He was playing catch-up, couldn't get in the side. Then he got himself in the side and started playing well. And then at the turn of the year, his missus gave birth. He missed the West Ham game. Then he couldn't get back in the side again. Towards the end of the season, he got himself back involved. And like I say, he ended really strongly. 2 really good goals. One a poacher's finish, little flick in the far corner, if you can remember back that far when we last played a football match. And then the second one, we was right behind it, myself and Boz, top tier of that Stadium of Light. And he's just arrowed it straight in the bottom corner. Really good finish. And what was a really good performance from Mika that day. So I'd be inclined to offer Mika Mandron a new deal. Henry Woods, I'm really not sure. Again, it comes down to budgets and what we've got and what everyone else has got and what we're allowed to spend, I suppose. So be one to keep an eye on. Max Email, the captain, we have to be doing everything we can to keep Max comfortably his most consistent season for us since being at the club. I think he's had seasons where he's been very, very good for periods and then dropped off. 2016 being a case in point. 2014-15, when he first arrived, he was decent on loan. 2016-17, we know we all struggled. There was accusations about certain players and there was stuff levelled at Max, and he come and spoke to us and cleared all that up. And 2019-20 though, for me, comfortably his best campaign. Can't remember a bad game that he's had. He's made the odd mistake, don't get me wrong. That's why he's a League One footballer, but I think he's led the team brilliantly. He's grown into the captaincy role. He's become a real leader in the dressing room without being someone that shouts and screams and hollers all the time. Yeah, I'd be offering Max 2 years if we could, at the very least. I think it'd be wonderful he could stay here for the rest of his career. Regan, Charles Cook's another interesting one. I'd be tempted if I was the gaffer to give him a year. I think he's got loads of natural ability. But for some reason, Steve Evans didn't trust him enough to start loads of games. So if you think of it that way, there's obviously a reason for that. He's obviously not seeing enough in training. He's not seeing enough to convince him that Regan's worthy of a start on a consistent basis. And the frustrating thing for me with Regan is, despite all the ability, it seems that when he starts a game, he drifts in and out of these matches. But then if you chuck him on for the last 20 minutes or half hour, if you need a goal, he makes an impact and creates panic in opposing defences. Maybe it's because defenders are tired and he's coming on fresh, I don't know. But I'm not sure Steve Evans will keep him. But if it was up to me, I'd offer Regan a year and say, right, you've got 12 months, go and really kick on. Go and really prove to me that you deserve a shirt and you deserve to be in the first team all the time. But it's not my call. Right, the final one, who I know splits opinion again. I'm a massive fan. I know plenty of people aren't. Brandon Hanlon, for me, has to be offered a new contract, at least a year. 23 years old. Yes, his goal return could be better. Yes, he misses a lot of chances. But only the very, very best at this level don't take loads of chances to score goals. The Ivan Tonys, the Freddie Ladapos, the ones that cost $500,000, $1 million, $1.5 million. We can't afford to be going out and getting them players. You don't get as lucky as we did with Tom Eaves, free transfer, 40 goals in 2 seasons. I think Brandon brings so much to the team, so much more than just goal scoring. He's got pace to burn, he runs in behind, he's strong, he works his nuts off every single game, he runs the channel, he occupies centre halves, he occupies fullbacks, creates drama within opposing defences. Bottom line for me is I think we're a more dangerous side with Brandon Hanlon in it than when we're with him on the bench. That's not to say he's consistent all the time and he's the best striker in League One, far from it. But at 23 years of age, with only 2 seasons in the Football League under his belt, I'd give him another 12 months at least. I think with more good coaching from Steve Evans and Paul Rayner, and I think there's been plenty of players that have got better under their tutelage in a short space of time as well. So I wouldn't want to write Brandon Hanlon off. And I see someone tweeted this afternoon, I think it was Don Ballard, who said it'd just be our luck that we did let him go and he'd go somewhere else and just keep improving and score loads every season. And we don't want to miss out on that. I think there's loads of ability there. Yeah, so for me, I think we should be offering him a deal. So yes for Max Amar, yes for Regan Charles Cook, yes for Mika Mandron, yes for Brandon Hanlon, and really not sure on Henry Woods. Right, I think I've summed everything up. It's nice to be able to talk about football. It's nice to have an excuse to put on a football shirt. And this is now one of my favourites. I'm sure you're all aware, if you follow me on Twitter and Instagram, that lockdown for me has been spending too much money on retro football shirts. I only had 10 at the start of the season. I think I've got about 40 now. I think there's only one more on the real wish list, and that's any of the Zanussi versions that I can get my hands on. That's one I want to get because it was the first club sponsor we've ever had. Other than that, I've got a shirt from every campaign since 95, 96 now. I've got this beauty from 1990, 91. I've got Neil Smith's 92, 93 shirt that he was kindly donated to me. I've got the Medway Toyota 93, 94. So I've got plenty of really, really good ones. Just looking for a Zanussi one. So if there's anyone out there who's willing to part with one, DM me please. Sorry, I've gone off on a tangent. I hope you're all keeping well. I hope you're still following the guidelines, staying alert. You can go and sleep around each other's houses. I think from Monday, that's the new slackening of the rules, I think. Can't go and see your own family, but you can go and sleep around your friend's house and have a bunk up. Anyway, keep staying safe. Keep looking after each other. Football will return soon, I'm sure. Until next time, up the Gills.